It should be a DoNotGod video production. Such. Inmendham video. Comments. And frankly, I'll be looking for the negative ones rather than the positive. This is just one thanking me for the economics videos. Just saying if people really knew what was going on. Yeah, it's not free money. But anyway. Nice thing to realize I'm not alone with such thoughts. Thank you very much. Okay, that's nice. Blah, blah, blah. All right, Flyorra. Funny kind of comment, actually. But, whatever. Hi, just watched nature documentaries, so you didn't know what nature was. Gee, I have converted to your side. We'll see how long that lasts. To Ephilism and your philosophy. However, I don't know. However, I agree with... whatever that means. However, I agree with Ephilism, except there's evidence at Chernobyl that life came back. So what? It came back in a worse condition, in the sense that, yes, maybe the wolves were bigger and they were prettier, but they don't live as long. So the mutations haven't necessarily done the wolves any personal good. As individual wolves, they're not living better lives. Yes, as a machine, they're more like a Tyrannosaurus. Okay, they have certain mutations are good for evolution. Evolution likes mutations. It's not a surprise. But the fact is that when you accelerate evolution, you also accelerate the odds of an error, a mistake, something that won't work in the long run, something that has fundamental defects. And so evolution only works over a long period of time. Things have to be tested over time. And individual organisms have to live out being tested. They have to be tested. Like, let's see if you can be a fully functional human with only 3 legs. And so maybe 3-legged humans would work for a while. But in the long run, they lose the race. And all they did is get brutalized, and have to do it the hard way. So there's nothing pretty about it except the exterior. The veneer is always pretty, right? It's all very pretty. Because we don't see the ugly. The ugly gets eaten by maggots. It disappears fairly quickly. So we don't see any of that. We just see the birds flying. We don't see the birds crashing and failing. And that's the truth of it. We just don't see the dead. And so we pretend it's all a big picnic. Because nature eats its dead. Simply. Even predators came. Wolves. The lives of these animals on the planet are brutal. Well, that's the only point that matters. Life is brutal because it's a pointless competition for a pointless objective, and that's it. I mean, there's nothing going on here. Eating and penis polishing, what else is happening? Nothing I can pay any attention to. Yeah, nothing that really says, oh yeah, that's it. The rest of it's just cleaning up spilt milk. There's problems, things in your way. Things between me and the food, and things between me and the place to polish my penis. And the rest of life is just to figure out how to get those damn things out of my way. Like, Jim, that cute guy. How do I make him fall down and scrape his face off? I mean, it's just bullshit. The whole thing is just bullshit. Anyway, all of life is brutal. Well, I don't know about all of it, but the game is brutal. The victims are numerous and catastrophically bad. Life I would not live, fate I would not wish, no matter how many strawberry cookies you offer me. I just won't buy it. I don't want to die the way that guy did. I don't want to live the way that person lived. Fact. And you couldn't pay me all the money in the world to do it. I wouldn't live their fucking life. So, bad game. I won't go on the ride. I've seen the victims fly off, and people are still putting the kids on the roller coaster. And so, yes, they're psychotically evil. I mean, it's really not that hard to figure out. So they got to be evil. They aren't just stupid. They're more than just stupid. Because the risks are right there in front of you. The deformed kids, they're poster childs. They actually have booklets with their deformities right there on the front cover of the booklet. This is what could happen to your child, and yet they put the kid in the ride. I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice. Who but a sadistic kook does that? That's right. There's no answer to this question. There's no response to it. They are sadistically stupid. They're so fucking stupid. You can't even describe how stupid they are because they're missing something so obvious. You don't roll dice with little kids. Yeah, pretty obvious. You don't dangle them over swords. You don't do that. That's really dumb. Anyway. And difficult. Anyway, your philosophy is correct. Well, that's just what I need. I've been waiting years and years. I've been doing all this work. I've just been waiting for the flyover seal of approval. Flyover says I'm right, so I must be right. Probably doesn't work that way. But anyway, I'm thankful. I'm grateful. But, you know, I mean, I have to take it with a big, giant lump of salt. Like a piece of salt about this big, right? Because you change your mind about every 3 weeks, right? 4 weeks. I don't want to exaggerate. So why should what should I be feeling right now? Some sense of relief? She's finally settled on a nest. No, not likely. Anyway, solution needs to be done. Okay, however, the solution needs to be done not sloppy. Yes, well that's a good theory of function. Don't do it sloppy. Yes, it's one way of looking at it. You could also say efficiently. Efficiently would be a good word. In my investigations, on Google, a large comet is required to eradicate this planet. Well, that's one way. I'm just saying, it's if you do some investigations into nuclear energy, you'll find out that there's no limit to the size of a nuclear bomb you can actually make. You can make them preposterously, insanely megatonny. You can just keep piling the megatonny into them. There's no limit to how much megatonny you can put into it. All right, required to eradicate the planet. I fully agree with your position and philosophy. Well, whatever. Thank you, but thank you for the exploding banana. I don't know when it's gonna, not be a banana anymore. Some guy on one of Joey Carberstrong's video, who the fuck cares, said I should debate you on veganism. I don't think you can bait anybody. So he calls himself Kohan the Barbarian. Bad start. Here's my opening argument. Might makes right. It always has and always will. So it's just too stupid. So that's exactly the opposite of an intelligent thing to say, right? Because obviously we all know, all the intelligent people know, right doesn't have anything to do with might. Like, the right answer in physics isn't going to be because the guy is the biggest and he arm wrestled all the other physicists and beat them, and therefore his theory is correct. Everybody knows that might doesn't have anything to do with right. There's just no correlation. There's no evidence in history that the mightiest were the rightiest. Do you have some evidence you've compiled somewhere where the mightiest were the rightiest? No, you don't. So you start with a sentence that's just baby talk. I mean, even a baby might have some pause in saying that. Like they heard somebody say it and then the baby goes, might makes right. And then they say, what the fuck did I say that for? How the hell does that make any sense? Right doesn't have muscles. Right isn't taller. Right isn't fatter. How could this possibly be right? This is stupid. Why am I saying something stupid? See, even a baby could figure out. It's fucking stupid. So that's how you lead. That's your big sword you're showing me. Oh, look at me. I have a very good argument. Except it's made out of nothing. There's no frickin' sword, retard. You have an inverted you have an inverted sword. Only reason, it's just so too stupid. Let's see if he defends the logic of it. Okay. Only reason strong don't control all is because we can use weapons. Oh, you mean you can use your brain, okay, and win. Okay, you can cheat by using your brain. So we're not supposed to use the tools we're actually endowed with, right? This competition that comes up with the right answer all the time. It's just so stupid. By definition, even like I said, what component is there to the contest? So you're having a contest where you're saying this is going to decide what's right. And how does the contest in any way glean out rightness versus just mightness? Where's the connection? Oh, that's right, there is none. Can use weapons, and with them, even weak can kill the strong. So again, you really think it's all about being physically strong, and that's what makes you right. So if you're a pedophile and you're really buff, molesting kids is good. You're bigger than the woman, you just rape her, and that's fine because you were right. I mean, it's just such stupid logic. It just doesn't, there's no logic involved here. I've already made that point. So anyway, if this is all he's going to do is make insane rationalizations for absolute nonsense that's never been true in the history, and it's not true now. It's never been true. Might makes right. No one wants to die, so we made the social contract so we don't kill each other. Well, duh. And you're saying that's wrong. Is that stopping the mighty somehow? Okay, morality comes out of social contract. No, it comes out of your sense. Okay, you have to understand something. So my morality, I don't give a shit about what the laws are. I'll violate laws that are stupid when I can get away with it because they're stupid. I have no interest in them. So that's not where you define it. You define it based on understanding something. There's no law in America against a lot of acts that could be called cruel, right? But I won't commit them. Like, killing and butchering animals. And its only purpose is to enforce it. Second thing is, so this has something to do with veganism? Strange. Second thing is drive of individual to maximize his short and long-term pleasure. So again, more nonsense. I mean, obviously those are two very different things. And only an asshole, again, would think that it's right, okay, to ignore how expensive your pleasure is, so that you should get your pleasure at any cost. Like you should kill thousands of people horribly. You should, sink a boat just to get a date with a girl or something. And somehow that would be right because it's in your personal interest. I mean, that's absolute nonsense. It can't be anywhere near the right answer. It's so retarded. All right, this guy's a waste of time, so I'll just finish this paragraph, be done with it. This is tempered by social contracts, so don't kill, or you will get killed. Don't rape, steal, enslave, or you may get raped, stolen, or, well, obviously you don't. I mean, maybe the laws would probably work better if we actually made the punishment commensurate to the crime. You kill somebody else's kids, they get to kill yours. That might be a real deterrent. Animals are not part of a social contract since they don't have potential for parity of force. I don't know what that could mean. Parity? Oh, parity of force. But no, they don't have brains, idiot. Oh, you're just too stupid. So anyway, I don't know what this is just so fucking dumb that, sorry, uninterested. It's not a debate. You're not debating anything rational. You obviously don't have a rational theory. Human beings are not carnivores. Fact. They aren't. Go back 2 million years, they weren't chasing squirrels and eating their raw flesh. Wasn't happening, didn't happen, isn't real, is just a delusion in your fucking head. Didn't happen. We, like all the other simians, were eating leaves and fruits and berries and all of that kind of crap. Fact. You're just really, really, really stupid. Okay. Well, just fuck off. Too stupid. For further communication would be a waste of my time. Clearly. Environmentalism is a dangerous, delusional, pro-lifer cult. Well, close enough. I don't know if I'd call it a cult, but obviously these are just deluded, silly people. They might as well be Hare Krishnas or something because they really don't give a shit about facts. They're just, as it's described, tree huggers. They're not taking any account for the actual facts, what's actually happening, mass murder of children. They're just taking no account for it whatsoever. Just pretending it doesn't happen when it clearly does happen. 10 of them are born and only 2 of them survive. It's facts. And for most mammals, it's worse than that. Worse. I mean, it's like 20 killed for every 1. All right. Environmentalists believe we only have one planet, and if we don't take care of it, the suffering of the future generations will increase greatly. La 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 la. Right, humans. So they only care about human brains. They only care about one tiny portion of the sentient universe. The rest of the feeling things can go fuck themselves as far as they're concerned. And that's disgusting. They're feeding off of the corpse making. They're making money off the child molestation that takes place in nature. It's like they're profiting from it and saying, we got to keep our profits up. I mean, it's that bad. Okay, everything we eat and breathe is made out of a biosphere that is just as tainted could be in terms of every piece of profit you're pulling out of it is blood money. I've penned a video response to you, Gary. Well, it didn't be of any use because you left it private, and I can't watch a private video, so I stated that and you didn't respond, so, well, whatever. So here's one of the retards. Avalanche. I guess that's how the modern mystic says it. Anyway, in all due respects, well, that's not exactly stated correctly. How do you plan on convincing the fundamentalist fanatics? I don't. It's not the way the world works, right? I mean, nobody has to convince anybody of everyone of anything. You know, I mean, in the Congress, you just need a 50-50 vote for most things. And then sometimes you need a 60-40 vote, okay, when you really want to do something really draconian. I mean, really strong law. You want to rewrite the Constitution? Yeah, all you need is that 3/4 vote, 2/3 vote. So, yeah, once you have that, you just tell them it's against the law. You don't like the law? Too bad. Build a new democracy and, you know, do whatever you want to do. Fight us. Have a war with us, and we'll just kill you. You know, there's a point where we say to the child molesters, you can't molest children. There's a law that says people can't do it. They say, well, it feels natural to me. Well, so what? We say it's wrong because the victim has rights, okay? And you can't decide what the victim's rights are. We've decided what the victim's rights are, and they're in conflict with what you think is okay. So you think it's okay to have babies. Well, a logical person says, no, it isn't, because you can't fix it if it comes out broken. You can't fix it if it breaks. You can't fix it. It's going to die, you dumbass. Don't you understand what you sentence it to? You sentence it to death. Now, you'll say, well, it can live a nice long life and then be killed. Well, what's the difference? If it lives 50 years or 90 years, do you really think it makes that big a difference when it still has to go through the process of being executed? It's going to be executed. You're just sentencing something to be executed and then claiming you're doing it a favor. You can't, you know, if you're too stupid to figure out that that's just too fucking stupid, then yes, we have a right to put you in a jail cell and sell, you know, and you want to play along, then yes, you have to be confined and prevented from being evil. Because we've defined a certain act as evil. That's how democracy works. So I don't have to convince all of the loop-de-doo little nut job fucking religious kooks. I don't think we should tolerate them now. Even outside of this subject, I still think they're a menace to civilization, and they should be corralled and restrained because they're too fucking stupid. They aren't using their brains properly at all, and they're not very good drivers. Okay, so they really shouldn't be allowed to drive. They shouldn't be allowed to make any of these decisions because they're basing them on fallacious and silly little fairy tales. They are so fucking stupid by definition, by behavior, and by professed belief that are usually lies anyway, right? We know these people have no confidence in their religion. That's why they're always breaking the rules, constantly breaking. You have these simple little 10 commandments. They can't follow any of them. All right, outnumbered 1 million to 1. It doesn't, again, has nothing to do with the real argument, which is a democracy argument. And again, all the modern democracies have already made the decision without even having an argument. At some point, we'll need to enforce. Become tricky. So again, you're just bringing up these fake notions that somehow it's tricky right now. So again, there's just no honesty in these people. They don't watch the videos. They say this horseshit. I mean, I've said this so many times. There's every evidence that the civilized world has already decided to go extinct, and they haven't even heard the argument yet. They don't want to have kids because kids suck. It's a huge responsibility. It's a huge burden. And rational people are afraid of it. Only irrational people are unafraid of the decision, are sitting there joyfully walking into the risk of swords. Rational people avoid fields of swords. They say, why would I walk into the fields of swords when I can go walk into the fields of vaginas over there? What do I want for this field of exploding babies when I can just walk over there and I can have all kinds of fun? So yes, they're irrational loop-de-doo nuts. Okay, and again, civilization has shown it. All right, so huge meteorite strike at the best trajectory, at the best a temporary fix. Where do you get that from? Where's your physics demonstrating that? I mean, you think that Venus is going to come back? You know, I mean, it's just, you know, radiation that's put it in that state. You know, it's out of control greenhouse. So something's going to control it and then it'll become a little bastion for, you know, fun life? No, it's not going to happen. Good news for a few bill years at least. So again, you have nothing to base that on. You have no evidence that you could make even one DNA molecule on a planet. That you could have a planet that was just like the Earth and you could throw a little pile of amino acids on it and you could sit there and actually wait till the end of time and it won't turn into anything. Because that's how rare it is. Because we've done the experiment right here on Earth. Billions and billions and billions of experiments, and we keep mixing the test tubes. Nature's mixing the test tubes constantly, and it can't make a second DNA molecule. It can't make a second nucleic cell. It can't make a second neuron. It hasn't made a second one of hundreds of things with billions and trillions and gazillions of experiments. Yet you'll just assert that there's some sort of life has to come back because I say so, not because I have any evidence to defend that argument. All right, anyway. So be careful, fuck you, what kind of planet you create. Remove the ones of us with anti-nihilist belief based on purely on compassionate grounds. So again, more nonsense. It's based on rational logic. You don't even have to call it compassion. When you say, oh, it's compassionate grounds to stop people from running children over in the street or something. No, it's just logic. It just, why make a mess? All right. Without the shouting, things would get uglier, not better. Without the shouting, things would get uglier. Without the shooting? No, shouting. I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about. Fucking asshole, anyway. I'll try to remember that next time I decide to create a planet. Thanks. So again, there's just, people are just belligerent to facts. And they just don't want to admit that you just don't mix water and carbon and poof, there's living things. It's just not the way it happened. Okay, inmendham is anti-natalist on grounds of lack of appeal to the opposite sex. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. Well, obviously you're the one with that deficiency, hiding in the dark guy. Let's go look at this loser. See what he's selling. But jawooey looking crap, right? Oh, he's testing something. Fucking douche. Oh, he doesn't show himself. He just plays video games. Yes, video games are all big winners with the ladies. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That really gets the girls hot and horny right there, buddy. They love that shit. Oh, he's a video game guy? Ooh, yeah, that's right up there with crack addict. Yeah, fuck you. Ugh, what a dumbass douche. I mean, these people. Ugh. Goodbye. Alright, this comment is very stupid, but I'll leave it up because it's really so stupid. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Joe retard. Let's see what this one is. The survival instinct. Okay, there's no instinct to survive. We don't survive on purpose. What we do is try not to be hurt. And the fact is, the body is made this way that it makes it hurt when you do something that might make you die. Okay, so we have mechanisms that prevent us from dying. But it often happens with animals and even humans where, You know, something will happen and they'll bleed excessively and they won't know they're actually dying. You know, oh, I'm actually dying and I don't know it because I don't know this blood stuff means if I lose enough of it, I'm going to be dead. You know, that kind of thing. So there's lots in this thing that it doesn't have anything to do with any instinct to survive is not what the instinct is doing. So there's no survival instinct. There's some correlated sense perception that allows us to, just like with sex, we are trying to do one thing and it leads to the other thing. And the same thing in preserving our comfort. We're preventing damage, and by preventing damage, holding death off. Let's see. Survival instinct controls the robots. This is more bullshit. But there is no separate instinct to procreate. Well, see, you got one right and one wrong. So that's a little better than the average commenter, but it's still pretty bad. Gary is right on that. Well, he's right on the other thing, too. He's right about everything, frankly. Selfishness feeds the survival instinct. There's no survival instinct. There's a preservation instinct. Preservation isn't survival. Preservation means you don't want to have change happen. Yeah, you want to keep things comfortable. All right, very different than I want to live forever. Ugh. Gotta get in court someday. And every intention to procreate is selfish. Well, whatever that is, but the idea, the notion to have babies is a notion built out of some kind of weird thing. Okay, so you could call it bodybuilding, or you could call it collecting rocks. You could call it. Lots of people have fetishes and things, you know, and wanting a baby is one of those. You can have some sort of fetish. Okay, like you think you'll look really cool if you have a little baby tied to your belly or something, you know, vomiting on your pants. That everything, your life will be made. Just wait till that day. And that charms you somehow. So yeah, there's people who are charmed by all kinds of weird shit. I mean, there's people right now, you know. Start thinking about the couples you see out there and just imagining the act, you know, the romantic act. Ooh. You know, scare the hell out of you. So yeah, people want all kinds of creepy shit. No accounting for the creepiness of a human being, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's their fetish, but that's all it is, just a fetish. Okay. He doesn't seem to understand the transhumanist argument. So this was worth it. This is a big pile of crap. Oh no, this is kind of a small one. There must be another pile of crap somewhere, because I saw it before. He doesn't seem to understand the transhumanist argument. What's to understand? Okay, obviously, like penicillin was a huge advance in terms of defeating nature. Okay, we had this huge advantage over nature now because we had penicillin. And yeah, we don't have like a penicillin of kind of like painkillers. All the painkillers, they're kind of compromised in that they're not a wonder drug. They're, you know, kind of flawed. They sledgehammer. So they sledgehammer the brain, and yeah, so you get rid of the pain, but you also get rid of, you know, being a sensible human. Or you get some other side effects, you know, with the codeines and the rest of them, or it's just putting you to sleep or giving you some other problem. So they're not like perfect drugs. Like even those erection drugs, I've never had to try one personally, but yeah, if it makes you nauseous and vomit, it doesn't seem like a really great exchange, frankly. You know, seems to be paying kind of a high price for a boner, but whatever. Anyway, so what do I not understand? Yes, we could change human beings into some other kind of organism that does some other kind of thing and does it, you know, less expensively even. So what? I would still argue virtual reality makes a ton more sense. Why try to make a physically comfortable world, a physical world for us to live in that's very expensive, when we can just create the illusion of it in your brain for pennies? You know. So obviously the real goal would be virtual reality where none of it makes any difference. But clearly also as a fact is that's going to be expensive to get there, and it's going to have to require a lot of experiments, and experiments are, you know, costly in terms of what you're imposing on something. what damage you might be doing to them to make them pain-free and all this other stuff. Control every one of their sensations. But the bottom line is what are you going to get in the end? And you see it with drug addicts. You see what you get. You get somebody who just keeps chasing a higher high. It doesn't go anywhere. It's completely unproductive to keep chasing. So why invest a whole bunch of time in some theory that I don't think is even true, that you can create some perfect human state? Because that perfect state is still going to require you to have a bunch of insecurities and a bunch of competitive ambitions. So you're going to have a need to do something. You're going to have to be compelled to prove yourself, or to prove you're better, or prove this or prove that. Or you become somebody like Richard Pryor and just sit in your living room and just shoot coke every day. Anyway, we both agree that consciousness sentience as it is today needs to cease to exist. Yeah, so, and one thing that we don't agree on is that there's any way to do it in the animal kingdom without going out with it. I mean, the planet has to go. You can't sanitize the planet one little bug at a time. It just isn't going to happen. You have to bomb the whole planet, including whatever humans are left. We don't have to play by nature's rules. Yeah, you sort of do, because those are the only rules in town, frankly. Obviously, we don't have to play by... we don't have to do it as badly as nature has done it. We can refine the game and take out a lot of the really horrible bits. But even taking out the horrible bits, it's a horrible game. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't make any sense. Make a mess, clean up the mess. Make a mess, clean up the mess. Make a need so I can go chase a hamburger. What the fuck is it? It's Homer Simpson. Donut, donut, donut. Just keep making donuts. And then frost the donuts. Then put whipped cream on the donuts. Then put cherries on top of the cherry. And then put a donut on top of the donut and start all over again. Double donuts. I mean, there's actually humans that buy this stuff in the store, 3D chocolate brownies, No, chocolate isn't enough. It needs to be triple chocolate. So this is a pathetic argument, frankly. Suffering is just an adaptation for survival. That's not all it is. I mean, it's not just about, it's about the strategies that survival require, and that they're nuanced. And the fact is, you need to be able to adapt to an environment. You might live somewhere where there's no tyrannosauruses, so, you don't need to be afraid of those. So you need to be adaptable to your environment. And that's the critical point. Just a byproduct of evolution. Everything is just a byproduct of evolution. So is your need. So is your sense that I need to play the game. That's just an adaptation too. If you're going to say it can't be done, I'm saying it's way too expensive and you won't practically do it. And we've already spending a huge amount of human resources to create the perfect painkiller, and it hasn't happened yet. You think you can genetically create one? Well, yeah, good luck with that. I don't really want to be, so you're saying you're competent enough to do experiments on human genetics. You feel okay about that you're not going to make monstrosities. Victims that are going to be tormented because of your playing some stupid game with their welfare. If you're going to say it can't be done, then might as well say voluntary human extinction can't be done. Why? They're two separate subjects. So you think that's a piece of logic somehow, to sit there and do something so obviously apple and orange. Two fundamentally different subjects, and you're going to say saying one can't happen is the same as saying the other can't happen. Do you do that all the time? Yeah. God can't exist, therefore evolution can't exist. Same thing. They're not the same thing. What's the fucking point of existence, though? If there's no compelling point, right? If there's no compelling, in the sense if you're not thirsty, water doesn't mean much, and it doesn't mean much unless you're really thirsty. Actually, And there's most certainly is not. There's no justification for imposing the burden of life onto another. Well, there's no justification for imposing even the burden of need. Why should you make me into something that needs to eat donuts? Why does the universe need a donut eater? Why? What does the donut eating do for the universe? This is just a GD, I don't know, God something, simple and bulletproof argument. A goddamn simple and bulletproof argument that transhumans are just too fucking stupid to understand. I don't think they're too stupid to understand. They're obviously, again, it's this game boy kind of brain mentality, that it's fun to play video games, and that, yes, right, you can figure out that I like playing and I want to play tomorrow and I want to play the next day. But that's an addiction, so you can understand that you're just addicted. And just like heroin, it doesn't mean anything to somebody who's not addicted. I can put a big plate full of heroin in front of somebody who's not addicted, like me. It just doesn't mean anything. Yeah, oh, look, a big plate of heroin. Yeah, doesn't mean anything. They just can't see past their survival instincts. So, again, there is no survival instincts. They just can't see past that, the fact that they have this aggrandized perception of their brilliant voyage, like they're Sinbad and they're going across the continents and conquering giant skeleton monsters. They have a hugely inflated perception of what a grand voyage they are on, and that existing forever and ever would be so grand, where they just constantly go from, you know, the first hole to the second hole, and they just keep playing their little golf game, and it never gets boring, and they never need, you know, twins, and then they need triplets, you know, and then they need triplets, you know, upside down on triplets, you know. They, it's just, you know, whatever. They just can't see past their survival instinct. It would tell them logically their life must go on. No, it's just a silly little story, and the story means something to them, so they want another chapter and another chapter and another chapter. When now the story already, you know, you should have gave up with the opening line, you know, the 7 dwarfs living in their, you know, poopy little woods. You know, you should just say, "Oh, stupid story." All right, yes, life can go on for those who want that. Well, this is the danger. You can't have it your way. You can't do that. If there was some way to construct it so only assholes impose life on assholes, well, that would be fine. But the problem is that's not the way it works. And so we know that 1 in a million, or whatever it is, 100,000 people are going to have ALS. We know that 1 in, 50,000 kids is going to end up with leukemia. We know blah, 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 blah. These are real things, and they're real tragedies and real catastrophes, and you can't eliminate them, and you just impose on the victim, so you end up raping somebody to go to the grocery store. That's the real fact. You have to go to the grocery store, and the fact is, to go to the grocery store, people have to get raped. And you're saying it's okay. And the point is no, you have to make a justification. Why did you really have to go to the grocery store? Why did any of you need to continue your little silly story? What evidence is there that the universe is diminished if it doesn't have your silly fucking Little Red Riding Hood bullshit story in it? Okay. Let's see. Yes, life can go on for those who want that. You really can't have it both ways. One can be an anti-nihilist and a transhumanist. But the logic would be dictating, why would you invest a whole bunch of energy in transhumanism if your goal is to erase it anyway? To tear it down, to burn it down. It's like building cathedrals when you think God is really going to come back tomorrow. And you kind of know God doesn't like the cathedrals much. He didn't say, build me cathedrals. So you know he doesn't going to like them. He's probably going to tear them down. Why would you build them then? All right. There is nothing contrary about that except logical inconsistency. Don't bring new life into the world, but modify yourself. So again, these people think they're going to modify themselves. So one kind of transhumanism say we make new babies, we genetically alter them so they don't feel pain and they don't get depressed and they don't do this. We can't even make pills that do this, but they're going to manipulate genes to do it. Somehow they're going to find the, I'm upset because I have an inverted penis gene, and now they're not going to be upset anymore. Still going to have an inverted penis, but they're not going to be upset about it. Okay, this is just too stupid. If you want to live longer, that's it. So again, they think they can have this one end without imposing on another. The longer human beings exist, the more animals will be tortured for it. Fact. They're being raped every second. Every second we continue to walk around saying everything is going to be okay or everything's terrible. No matter what we're saying, every second it goes on, it's grinding them up. Their victims are screaming. And even with the humans, that's happening. Lots of victims every day. Human beings going through horrible adventures, book stories you would never, ever, ever want to live. Fact is, you would avoid it. You would pay all the money you have to avoid their end. And that's the simple truth, and yet you're pretending it's okay because it's a them, and it wasn't you. And that's the only thing that's keeping you playing. It's them and not you that's paying the price. As long as you get to play for free and somebody beat the money out of somebody else, you just keep playing. I mean, if you had to put actual blood into the pinball machine, somebody else's actual blood and tissue, you had to tear it off of them. You watch somebody tear it off of them and put it into the machine so you could keep playing your stupid little pinball. You'd get it. But how is that metaphor incorrect? How is that not exactly what's going on planet Earth? A bunch of victims are having their flesh torn off so you can play a silly game. That's the facts. You can't argue your way out of that simple metaphor. That's exactly what's happening. You're feeding on their failure. All right, humans as laborers, but okay, so this is robot theory, man. Humans become irrelevant anyway. Now the system needs humans as laborers, but when robots will do most things, there is no need for so many humans. Well, there won't be need for any, frankly. So yeah, let's have robots do all of this silly crap. Let's have robots, they'll get married, and then they'll get divorced, they'll behave just as erratically and stupidly as we do. They'll molest each other and do all this other, they'll try to steal each other's money and do all the crap that human beings do. They have little race wars even, Starbelly Sneetch kind of crap, and let them behave. Let them do all of this silly nonsense. Let's make little tiny robots and send them into space. That would be perfect on a little tiny planet. Oh yeah. I mean, you can't draw. You can't I couldn't make a funnier movie, right? If I actually made the movie Humans on Earth, I mean, it would be a comedy, right? Skyzer, speaking of a terrible joke, Skyzer wants to debate you again. Well, somebody teach him English, okay? But I'm not debating somebody who can't speak English. You can't speak a form of English that's comprehensible. Fucking, unless you think fucking is comprehensible English. No, I just can't do anything with that. I mean, as much as I like a well-placed fuck you, he just uses it so much. It just takes all the guts out of the word. It just doesn't mean anything. Anyway, this would be a useful debate. I don't know who this was with. As opposed to debating trolls like SHD or that random teenage personal trainer. I don't even know what that means. So fuck you, enlightened turtle. What do you know about anything, you idiot? You're a fucking idiot. Why am I even reading your stupid, retarded comment? You're just as bad as these slandering assholes. You just do a bunch of misparaphrasing and lying on the internet. But again, this whole you decide utility. I think there's utility in arguing arguments that are plausible and reasonable. And there's very little utility in arguing people that say might makes right. But again, you have to point out there are a lot of people who might say that. So there's some point in addressing it. Now, there's no way of addressing it without just coming right to the fact that, God, you're so fucking stupid. I don't even know how to talk in a language dumb enough to be on your level. I mean, I can't reduce my understanding of the 2 + 2 = 4 world. I can't make myself dumb enough to even communicate on your level. It's so fucking dumb. I mean, you've gotten so many kindergarten concepts wrong. It's like you actually think down is up and up is down. I mean, you're so fucking stupid. Like a physicist. They couldn't even label plus and minus correctly. And then when they found out it was wrong, they still couldn't fix it. They're so lame. Ugh. You've improved a lot. Well, that's a tough one, right? Because there's a certain redundancy does make you a little better at something. So, you know, but that's the problem. Is it maybe it's just redundancy, and I'm not sure. But yeah, I would argue that yes, I think the content of the videos is a little more concise. The arguments are stronger and more pointed. The swords are sharper that I'm sticking in people's butts. So I am, in that sense, yes, I'd say I've improved. Age, less libido. Well, I don't see where it says you. What evidence do you have? Sorry. Wrong answer there. He's become socialized by having to spend time with people. Well, that's a lie. It distracts from his... So this is all stuff like, you know, 2 years ago I had already done this transition to trying to do this kinder, gentler thing. So it had already become part of the communication mechanism. And part of it is this futility. I mean, you know, this is a very difficult thing because you people are cement heads. You really are all so fucking stupid. And I learned that probably more from the physics arguments than I've learned it from the philosophy arguments. But it's just so glaringly obvious how, wow, you really are compulsive liars. You'll defend completely idiotic notions and with idiotic rationalizations. I mean, you point out the obvious, the evidence is weak, and people won't even admit it. And it's kind of like the carnivore argument. You're just saying, it'd be one thing for you just to say, okay, for the last few thousand years, humans have evolved a little bit, and that little bit of evolution has made us a little bit dependent on meat eating. You know, they could have made some kind of reasonable argument. But to say that we have always been carnivores is just so fucking insanely stupid. All right. Okay, I've not watched in years. Has he been evicted from his old shed? So you can go to fucking hell and die. You can die first and then go to some kind of hell, because that's what you would deserve. But yes, I hope it happens to you, fella. Really. Little dark shadow man. Yes, dark shadow man. Get what you deserve. What you wish on others, let it happen to you, fella. Okay. Time codes. For this piece of shit comment, he gets 3 thumbs up, 0 thumbs down. YouTube doesn't count thumbs down votes. They're generally just a decoy. Well, it says you. Let me try it. Let's see. Thumbs down. There. I thumbs downed your comment. We'll see if it shows up as a thumbs down. Little liar. Yeah. The only people breeding are the dumbest people on the planet. Yes. Proceeds to read a list of 90% dumb comments. Well, who said the commenters are the reality? Obviously not, right? They're just trolleys, fat heads and fat bodies who think they know way too much more than everybody else. They're the same assholes who call into like radio stations or something. Arrogant, obnoxious morons who are way underqualified for what they're stating to be experts on. That kind of shit. So, of course, they reflect idiocracy in the sense that they are the definition of it, right? This ignorance and arrogance. You know, for every bit of ignorance, they have a commensurate increase in their arrogance. All right, he really is a lazy sack of shit. I'm spelling it that way because his channel settings auto block profanity. Well, that's not true. So you can say it, but it's not true. So you're going to get blocked. Smiley face. Reminds me of a lyric. Been around the world and found the only stupid people are breeding. I don't know. lyrics. Who cares? Oh, yeah, Cato the Wiser. He's really the dumbest ass there could be. A fat little dumbass, no doubt. Alright, let's get rid of this fish shithead. Hide user from channel. Thank you. Goodbye. Alright. Apropos of wet snow. So this is an old adversary of the past, going way, way back. Is there a 2020 version of Stickam? Not that I know of. That works and that's free. What about hosting a Zoom chat? I don't like Zoom much, so that's about all I got to say about that. I'm looking to getting back into creating YouTube content. Look, if you want to have a conversation, I'd be all for it. So, get a Skype account. Skype works. The good thing about Skype is the quality of the, you're not doing this live video crap. So you're not putting streams together and getting a shitty quality video. So with Skype, you get at least good quality audio. And, the video's not bad either. So we can have a Skype conversation. More than 2 or 3 people doesn't make for a good rational conversation anyway, as the past indicates. So, but yeah, anyone who's interested in challenging me on any philosophical statements, I am willing to discuss it, in that kind of forum if you think you have some kind of important thing to say. I think video responses works just as well, but whatever. I'm looking to getting back into creating YouTube content or some debate. Hope you're well, Gary. Well, that's nice enough. Zoom meetings are limited to 40 minutes unless the participants pay a premium. The anti-nihilist community is a bunch of cyber babies who whine that their mummy don't love them enough and are all a bunch of bums who would never pay. Yes, it's true that obviously people who have been victimized are empathetic to victims. It's just a fact. People who have been hurt know what pain is, don't like it, and understand when, there's other victims out there and it bothers them. Yeah, that's the nature of empathy. Once you know that it's bad to be something, a feral cat, then you're sad and depressed and a lot of things. You can't just jump in and play the game. Gary's rent in Mendham was artificially low. No, it wasn't artificially low, so that's just a lie. It was a ragged, shitty cabin. Okay, so it obviously wasn't low rent I was paying. The landlord didn't invest any money in the place for 10 years. I bought the water heater. The only thing that kept the place livable was me. Frankly, because the landlord, William, was the landlord William. There was no William, so you're getting into real personal stuff here, so you're obviously blocked. Who the hell is that anyway? So you got no right to be fiddling with my personal life. You're too stupid to figure out that's an ethical violation. You're really, really fucking dumb. So anyway. Let's see, now owned by the 90-plus-year-old wife of the, he's just making up stories now. I'm not living, I don't have any connection to the landlord. Blah, 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 the evil bastard. That's just rude. But whatever, the humans are rude, duh. Especially humans on your side. Ha 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 ha. You have more rude people on your side of the argument. Let's see. Gary, the OG of quarantine. I don't even know what that means. He's the OG of Social Security fraud. So that's more of a lie. So we've already done all we can do, right? So nothing to say there. Worst part about it all is you don't even ask to be here. You are just thrown into the game of life and made to play. Yeah, and it's a really crappy choice you're going to be made in life, because you see what success requires, which is a lot of exploitation and cheating and finagling and bullshitting. You got to bullshit the bitches into bed. You got to bullshit this, bullshit that, bullshit. It's all just made out of bullshit. and only an asshole would want to play the game. Bullshit. Alright, I'll be surprised if I even make it past 30. Well, I was unfortunately surprised. I didn't think I'd make it. So, 30 looked like dead to me. I mean, I didn't, even if you had a good life and you were 30, you're already, oh man, that's like a corpse. Why is that corpse pretending to be living a life? So yeah, I didn't have much of a good perception of aging at all before I will ever had enough of this bullshit. So yeah, I'd say it was a 50-50 kind of thing for me, that at any one year I'd off myself, but I did seem to linger. I did survive the obstacles. The scary thing about inmendham is that everything he says about living and being here is true to every T. It's a kind of a weird sentence. Life fucking sucks. Well, the game is stupid, and when you're playing it, you can feel pretty stupid. Yeah. Anybody watching Breeders on Hulu, funny shit, features a typically shitty married couple and their lack of parenting skills. Yeah, well, I can't even imagine even watching it as a comedy. I mean, even if they made the show Baby Fall Down, I don't think I'd watch it just because babies are so creepy, right? I mean, oh, yeah, at least the thing falls down, which is cool. But, you have to watch it. Ew, you have to look at it. I mean, babies are just so fucking ugly besides. Ew. Anyway, LOL at doing all this wormhole bullshit. It's a little too out of context to be very useful. Look at that, a phone call from U4212484 blah 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 blah. Oh, good. That's pretty cool. It won't let me answer. Hello?
Hi, this is Gary. I can't get to the phone right now, but if you
me.
leave your name, number, and a message if you like, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
That's me. Man, yeah, the big.
This is not a solicitation call. Hi.
Oh, you sure it isn't?
Why
Why don't they nuke these fuckers? Right? Is there any other thing to do than go out, find these people, and drone them? Right? I don't want you droning people because, okay, religious kooks are a nasty thing in the world, but drone these people first. Put these people first on the list. They know who they are. This whole lie they can't find anybody. Sure they can. What the fuck's now? The phone won't recharge. Alright. Fucking bastards. Been a while. Oh, thanks. Thanks for responding. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'll do this turtle crap. There's too much going on to respond through comments, so I'll try to keep this short. Oh, dear. What I wanted to say in the comment you read at the end of the video was that it would be free us from the empirical argument. Well, these are your silly arguments. They aren't real ones. Since this is the objection most people bring up first. Well, again, there's nothing to bring up. It's just reasoning and logic. So you don't think it's a fact that we feel, and a fact that the feelings come in decidedly negative and positive reality. That somehow this is a complicated fact for you because you're is-oughting. You're saying no is creates an ought. Well, if there is a bad, the ought is built into the bad. Bads are bad. They have to be corrected, blah, 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 blah. By definition, bads have to be corrected. All right. Objection most people bring up first, that there is more good than bad in life. Well, again, that's just babbly baby talk. That's really not the point anyway. Even if there was, for the people calling themselves the winners, it still doesn't explain how you're allowed to impose it on the losers. You have the slave master syndrome here. Some people are going to be born very unlucky. How are you going to fix that? Okay, or that it is balanced and thus worth living. And so they're saying they haven't died yet, and they're saying it's worth it. Don't worry about it. Dying's fun. So I can make 100 arguments about how their judgment in this statement they're making it's worth it can't mean anything to anybody logical. First, they're not accounting for the worst case scenarios that happens to people, the real risk. And they're just asserting, from my point of view, it was worth it. Well, what about your bloody victims? Was it worth it for them? That would be us testifying, no, it wasn't worth it. So fuck you. I'm vetoing your nonsense that you're entitled to enslave me to a game I don't want to play because you want to play it. It doesn't work that way. You don't get to create slaves. Slavery is immoral. It's unethical. It's indecent an act. Unless you have some kind of statement where you can say your pleasure is worth my pain. Well, fuck you if you're saying that empirically, stupid turtle fucker. You are a turtle fucker. You're not a turtle. Anyway, what Benatar calls the empirical asymmetry. Well, who cares what Benatar says? Again, if you think Benatar is the god of this argument, fine. I don't. Okay, because there is nothing that this argument has to be the argument from evolution. There's no other place you make the argument from except for the argument from evolution. That's what made us. That's the only thing that can make anything in the universe. And can that dumbass system do anything smart? And the obvious answer is no, because it doesn't have a fucking brain. We can know what's smart. We know it's smart not to create victims. It's also the hardest argument to make. So strategically, well, fuck you. I don't think you know anything about a good strategy. It would make more sense to bring up the axiological asymmetry. Why would it be? You just bring up the point that all your goods are fundamentally made out of the existence of the bad. The lesser state makes the greater state. And that's the only way the greater state is a state. Is because you're comparing it to something lesser. Period. From which it follows that lives might be worth continuing at times, but never worth starting. Well, it would be even a better argument to make that regardless of continuing or starting, the real price of the life is what has to be accounted for. And so the very fact is, as you're playing the pinball machine, you're putting other people's flesh into the quarter slot. They're paying for your existence. You aren't paying for it. They're paying. Right now, the biosphere is suffering for your oxygen. It's making your oxygen out of their fucking bones, okay, out of their tissue, out of their blood. That's a fact. Every day we live, we exist at the expense of those organisms being ground up by that machine. That's the real price, and you have to account for it. And so you'll never be able to account for the price of your existence, how expensive it is to the victims that are going to have to pay for it. Okay, if you don't remember the difference, it's the first or second chapter in his book. I read his book. His book was a bit tedious and boring, frankly. That was my impression. It didn't make any kind of visceral argument that it sounded like anything to me, because he didn't bring up feral cats, and he didn't bring up the horrors in nature, and he didn't bring up any of this victim crap. There's real victims created on planet Earth. They're the voice that no one's hearing. All right, and the imposition of risk argument first. Right, so again, the imposition of risk was not the strong argument in his book, and it should have been, in my opinion. I agree with you that contrary to what Superhuman Dance believes, the imposition argument is one of the strongest ones, so there you go, to make, and the easiest to get across to people. Right, so why are you being a pain in my ass, stupid turtle? I'm doing my job here. I'm making the argument. Benatar's views is independent of hedonism. Well, again, I don't know how you can get independent of feeling good and feeling bad, to which many people object, which he demonstrates by considering other views of what is valuable. Obviously, I don't think that's possible. I don't think there's any possible way to view the Earth, the universe, any other way than to say if I had to find something that was valuable in the universe, the first things I'm going to say are valuable are the things feeling. If it doesn't feel, I'm not going to say it's valuable unless it makes a feeling thing feel better. So unless something can defend its existence as being necessary to feeling things feeling better, like grass can be necessary to the rabbit having a full stomach, nothing else could be of any value. It's not possible. All right, desire, fulfillment of, and objective list of views. Well, whatever that even means. And that can be important counter-argument to make against the common objection against hedonism. So, again, there's no objection to hedonism in the sense that you have to recognize that at stake is feeling good and feeling bad. And the rational argument is that the good stuff isn't really good stuff. It's only based on dependency and need. So without the addiction, there is no hedonism on the good side. There's just aversion to the negatives, and that's all that has any legitimate value. The only real motivator is the objection to the negative. No matter how much ridiculous you think it is to claim that pain isn't bad, yes, that's right. I think it's absolutely, there's no point in that. You should be locked up, frankly. If you don't think pain is bad when it's happening to a sentient organism, intrinsically bad, and a thing not good in and of itself, the sensation is bad. If you don't understand that, then yeah, I think you're catastrophically broken as a thinking machine. That is what I meant by independent of hedonism. Well, I don't know. I still don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Instead of moral values, I should have said moral truth. So that's just more nonsense, right? No, you shouldn't say the word moral. What does moral have to do with this subject? It has nothing to do with it. It's a subject about values, not edicts, not declarations of right and wrong. They're declarations about what it has value. I mean, just no point. Are imperatives. Many people are objecting to you saying that because pain isn't universally perceived to be bad, we somehow can derive an ought from this. Yeah, duh. Not because it's universally perceived as bad, it's because I'm doing the fucking experiment, jackass. You're telling me that my conclusive evidence of personally being conscious and personally seeing the stark difference between a negative feeling and a positive feeling. I see it right in my own brain. The difference couldn't be clearer. The resolution is incredibly high. I can see the blackness of the black and I can see the whiteness of the white. And you're telling me the white is black and the black is white. That there's some possibility. No, there's no possibility I've gotten it wrong. It's 2 + 2 = 4 solid. And there is no 2 + 2 really equals 3. That will never be the truth. And it will never be the truth that pain was a good thing. That it's really good that brains experienced pain. Never will that be a truth. Alright, perceived as bad. We somehow can derive an ought from this. That's damn right we can. This is what I meant with the term altruism. Yeah, I don't care what you meant, frankly. I mean, this whole jargony bullshit that somehow I have to I can't create an ought from an is just baby talk nonsense. Okay, what we have a moral duty to prevent the suffering of other sentient creatures. That we have. Again, so I don't, this moral duty again, it's a value equation. You can see you're either running positive or negative, just like you can see you either made money in an interaction or you lost money in an interaction. It's clearly visible. You don't need any moral statements. Okay, and logic does not prove this. Well, I'm afraid it does, so fuck you. You are biasing your reasoning on the golden rule, which is again a lie. Okay, it's a nice rule though. I mean, do unto others as you have others do unto you. Yeah, it makes logical sense that would be a pretty good. If I could feel other people's pain, they probably won't be in pain very long because I'd probably go fix it, wouldn't I? If I own slaves and my slaves are in pain and suffering and I feel their pain, well, frankly, I'm not going to be able to enjoy my pinky tea if I'm feeling a bunch of pangs of pain. So I'm going to fix the problem, aren't I? Yeah, that's the way it'll turn out. All right, the categorical imperative, but the categorical imperative is already an imperative and ought. And some people simply think you have to describe where you derive this ought from. I don't see anything wrong with deriving it. I'm conscious, for fuck's sake. I've done the fucking experiment. I've seen it right in my own fucking head. I know the difference between pain and pleasure. It's not hard to see the difference. So again, you're telling me there's no difference? You're telling me there's an equal sign between the worst pain I've ever experienced and the greatest pleasure I've ever experienced? You're a fucking lunatic, is all I can say to you. Okay, because you know yourself, nature certainly didn't make any moral commandments. And again, what is that? This isn't about moral commandments. So you keep sitting there trying to pretend I've used the word morality and that I'm making moral statements. I'm not. I'm making logical statements about how you don't let bad spoil your good. You don't put poison in a pie. It's not an edible pie. You've ruined it. You've broken it. You've created a deficit by spoiling it. The argument is obvious. Bad undoes the value of anything good, as if they were positive and negative numbers. You can't exchange them. I would argue that the positive value, though, of all of the positive numbers is really, you just haven't put zero in the right place. You've gotten zero in the wrong place. So you think a bunch of positive numbers are really positive when they're not positive. They're just the absence of a deeper negative. They're still negative positions. All right, or at least not to the ones we as anti-nihilists believe in, well, whatever we is. So who's this we group that you belong to? Believe in and would like to present as truths. So because you know yourself, nature certainly didn't make any moral commandments, or at least not ones we as anti-nihilists believe in and would like to present as truths. Well, that's speak for yourself, frankly. Not everyone else. I agree that this conversation is not necessarily fundamental to the anti-nihilist project. It's not fundamental to recognizing that this is just about the fact that nature created the game and nature is unintelligent design, and that's why it fails, and that there is no way of intelligently contriving a good. You can't take a blank state and figure out how to make good in it. There's no way to do it, because the game depends on the existence of the negative. You have to put the suffering in before you can make anything out of it. Because nothing needs to exist without the need, and the need is always made out of a negative condition. Need is never a positive function. Shit. It's always fix, fix, fix. If you don't break it, you don't have to fix it. A simple, logical statement. Nature breaks. Nature doesn't fix. Okay, these are more meta-ethical questions. Well, fuck that word even more than morality. I am simply trying to, you're simply trying to convolute language and play these stupid fucking dead philosopher bullshit word games. This Nietzschean poetic crapola shit. I am simply trying to find responses to the most common objections. Well, you say they're the most common objections. Most common objections are from people who don't have any skill in philosophy or this terminology. So there's no way they're making arguments from, oh, you can't make an ought out of an is, kind of horse shit. Skepticism isn't a bad thing, Gary, so whatever that even means. Where am I against skepticism in any sense? But just unreasonable nitpicking and such is just bullshit. And that's all this crap is from you people. It's distracting mosquito bites. I can ask you the question how you derive an ought from an is. So again, I have no obligation to play whatever game this is with language. I'm telling you the very existence of a concept called bad, if you're going to take the word seriously, if you can make something that satisfies the definition of being a bad thing, part of the definition of bad is in need of correction, in need of fixing. So bad would be associated to broken. And it's basically saying it's broken in a way that matters, not in a way that doesn't matter. Okay, so yes, I could throw this flashlight into the universe and I could break it into two pieces and it wouldn't matter. But obviously when we're saying broken, we mean broken in some way that does matter. That the universe is diminished until you fix it. I can ask you, okay, I already did this, whether it is useful to ponder it is another question. Well, again, it's not even a ponder. The fact is in the definition of the words. You're saying there is no real bad in the universe. I'm telling you, whatever good is, I have the opposite in my universe of consciousness. My consciousness can find the opposite of good. It has no problem finding it. Okay. I will try to figure out how to record a video on my piece of shit Linux laptop. Well, this is a Linux computer too, and it manages. And it's not much of a computer, frankly. But anyway, there's a program called Screen. What's it called? Simple Screen Recorder. So get that, and you can record anything you get on the screen. You can record. So that works pretty good. And you can change what file it does it in, so you can have some fail-safe built in. But anyway, or you just can make audio files, frankly. YouTube lets you upload it as an MP3, so just upload an audio file, for fuck's sake. Alright, attacking you from behind the keyboard in the comment section is a little unfair. But yes, well, if you want to do Skype or something, I'm willing. But you have to understand that the context of the conversation is that I'm going to sit there and disengage from this stupid axiological bullshit words and shit. We don't need all that crap. This is kind of clear math. I mean, you're saying we have to call this a quadratic equation or something. It's 2 + 2 = 4. It's not a quadratic equation. Alright. By the way, I stand corrected. Benatar only mentions the consent imposition argument on page 53. So this is pretty huge, right? So he gives one sentence to all of the natural suffering that takes place on planet Earth. He gives them one sentence in the beginning saying everything I'm going to say applies to animals. And that's all the animals get. And then the argument from imposition gets 1 page. And you don't see why I'm a little disappointed in Benatar. 2 of the biggest pieces of the puzzle are left out. And people are surprised. I'm not a big fan of Benatar. Okay, as a hypocritical right not to be created, and admits that it is not this aim to prove that there is such a right. So he doesn't sound like he's on even my side at all. But certainly I would prove there's such a right. Some bring up the non-identity problem as an objection to the imposition argument. See, what is this non-identity problem? What the fuck could that possibly mean, that pile of gooey words? We clearly know people will exist. This has nothing to do with the identity of the unborn. This has to do with statistical facts and actual projectable, reliable predictions. So why are we pretending the prediction won't come true? Of course it will. Why are you pretending that if you build the building sideways that it won't fall down? I mean, why? We know the facts. We know when something's doomed to fail as logic. You cannot impose something on someone who does not yet exist. So again, these are just word games. We know they're going to statistically exist. We know there's going to be somebody in the future that'll be just like me saying this pretty similar shit. All this stuff is going to be redone again. We know that every 100 years there's a certain number of people who will die of the flu, and there's a certain number of people who die of ALS, and a certain number of people who die of a certain thing, and that we can reliably expect that to happen over and over and over and over again. So why play this game that it's not imposed on somebody real when, of course, if it did happen, it would be. These are all valid words. It would be. That's a valid concept. And prevention is a real thing. Of course, when you prevent something, it's not going to exist to say, I was prevented and I really enjoyed not being existing. Of course, the non-existent can't testify to how happy they are not to exist. I mean, fuck. So people are just, you've got your heads up your philosophical little puckery anuses way too far. You cannot impose something on someone who does not yet exist, and Benatar deals with this at some length. Right, and it seems almost tedious. Why would you deal with it at all? You would just argue that there is a reality between a model. You can run the model one way and the water shoots out, and I run the model another way and the water doesn't shoot out. And those 2 outcomes are completely different outcomes, completely in control of the operator. He can decide to let it out or not. And you can't sit there and compare the 2 conditions as if they're going to both exist in the future. One of them will and one of them will not. All right. And Benatar deals with this at some length, but yes, not in relation to the imposition, but in the claim that being born cannot make someone worse off, since worse implies a comparison to a state in a previous state. See, this is where, comparing how worse off the non-existent is to the non-imagined, I mean, how, you know. Well, anyway, it doesn't. No point. Imposition of well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll just get to your next paragraph. IIRC, I don't even know what that means. He says we could reformulate the assertions to something like, if you act in a procreative matter, a future with more suffering beings in it will come about. The point is about the risk. You can't guarantee the outcome. You're just basically pointing out that you don't have a right to assign the risk. You do not have a right to play gambling games with somebody else's flesh. Oh, shit. So it is the world that will be in a worse state. To avoid saying whatever, someone will be worse off. Yeah, but I'm just saying these statistical facts remain statistical facts. Until they can prove I won't exist in the future to complain about how wonderful, you know, because life will be so wonderful, there won't be any me's in it and no victims to say, ouch, I didn't appreciate that, you just were rude to me. You know, until they can prove they can play their game without playing it on my back, they can't play. It's just a fact. You can't play the game until you prove the game doesn't rape women. We have all kinds of evidence the game rapes women. And all we're saying is until you can demonstrate you can play the game without raping women, you can't play. Alright, I think the only trolls can make this objection. Only trolls. Some dude on Good Heads I argued with kept asking me what's the ontological status of a being that is better off not having been born. And again, it's just the very fact that either exists or does not exist. You either create it as an event, the suffering, or you don't create it. Those are the only two choices. And I think this is more a case of willful ignorance and masturbatory wordplay than anything. Yes, and I think you're guilty of the same sort of word games. Alright, let's do this last thing, get out of here. Turtle, to record just the screen sound, you use a, simple screen recorder, thank you. Same answer I gave. To record just voice, you can use Audacity. There you go. To record screen and audio cam, you can use OBS. OBS takes a lot, so he's not going to run that on a shitty laptop. To edit audio, you can use Audacity. To edit video, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, editing. You can actually edit with screen. The screen recorder allows you to pause the videos, which is really quite handy. You just have to make sure you're recording in MV, whatever the format is. No, they're MP4s. Yeah, so it actually works with MP4s. So, but that's really a nice feature. Let's see. In reference to your response to my comment, I felt that you were overly dismissive of Magnus's concerns about how feasible it is for antinatalism to catch on. Well, again, the argument, that's an over-argument. I'm sorry. It's just too stupid an argument. He kept trying to insist that population growth in civilized worlds was somehow a real threat, and it's not a real threat. Once people are educated, the game is over. So again, this is not a debatable point. He's wrong. He's wrong to imply that it's a threat. He's just fucking wrong. Modern democracies are not going to choose to overpopulate the world, so it's just not a realistic threat. And he kept trying to say it was. And say it in a way that was, in my opinion, just grossly dishonest by talking about the Japanese example and trying to pretend, that because there's some fluctuation in their birth rate, that their birth rate dramatically went up, and it hasn't. Or that it's passed or it's gone beyond extinction, because they haven't. They're still on the extinction path without having any antinatalist philosophy. Again, just understand, without even starting the argument, we've already got them in the process of going extinct. So, yeah, fuck you. Alright, so, that's enough, right? Yeah, that's enough for me. I'm tired. It's all the same assholes, though. Troll. Ocean jerk off. Whatever the fuck he is, he's an idiot, too. Somebody wanted bad something, do right thing, blah, blah, blah. Well, whatever, bullshit. I'm done. Till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. I hate this fucking planet of assholes. Hate it. Hate it. If I could make a deal with the aliens, I would. Yeah. Squish them. Now, fast. Decisively.